Oh boy, the dreaded interview in front of the window shot. High contrast, super bright background, lowly lit subject. What are you gonna do? You're gonna expose to the person and blow out the background and you have no detail back there. They might as well be sitting in front of a white wall. But this is the true test of dynamic range of cameras, and I come into this situation all the time. But I figured this would be the best test to have between these two cameras, the S5 and the Blackmagic Pocket 6K. Here it is lit. I have an Aperture 300D shining through a reflector on a stand, a nice soft light wrapping around without seeing it in the window in the background, which are dirty and I need to clean, by the way. But I want you to see this evenly lit. This is where we don't need dynamic range. We probably have 10 stops here of dynamic range. What a 5D Mark II had, 10 stops of dynamic range. I wanted to treat these cameras as if each one individually is shooting this scene. And I wanted to set each camera to their optimal settings. I didn't see that setting both cameras to the same settings would be an advantage for either one because you're setting one to the limitations of the other. I hope that makes sense. So the S5 was set at 640, its base ISO. The Blackmagic was set at its native ISO of 400, which I felt like had the best balance of highlights and shadows. And then each camera I set the background to just below overexposure at 100% zebras. So that is what I have here as a test, and we're gonna see how much noise is in the shadows. So here's V-Log on the Panasonic. You can see it's nice and flat. Here's my grade to when the light was on. Here it is pushed on the shadows. It's still pretty clean, I have to say. That is a lot of exposure and there's very minimal noise there. That can be cleaned up. Here's the Blackmagic. And it's graded the same way. It looks a little darker. It has a little different tones, but I matched them. Now you can see the noise introduced. There's a lot of noise there. That's really not good noise. That is noise that is gonna mess up your shot. Here they are side by side. You can see the comparison of the noise. There is a flare on that, I see that. Sorry for all the head movement. But we're looking at the noise and there's tons of it there. Look at this close up with the microphone. You can really see, I mean, that is not cleanable. Focus is a little different there, but you can see the point that I'm trying to make. So I took the cameras out to Central Park. I mounted the S5 on top of the Blackmagic, looking kind of silly. I was getting some looks, but I didn't care. And I shot a bunch of scenes. Now, each of these scenes, I set the camera to its optimal shooting setting. For me, for what I felt was the best setting to see these shots in for each camera. They're not identical. I don't see the point in shooting cameras identically. You're not gonna get a good test out of it. You're gonna shoot them both to their strengths. So I know shooting RAW may seem unfair, but you might be surprised with how this footage turns out. So I shot the first scene here walking to the park. You can see the red door has a color shift in it. I think that's the 12-bit versus 10-bit. I tried to match these as closely as possible. The dynamic range looks the same. The only thing I notice here is that the highlight roll-off on the Panasonic looks a little sharper, and the Blackmagic looks a little more filmic. This view of the park shows how close these cameras are to each other. Again, you can see slight shifts in color, but the dynamic range is there, and the sharpness is amazing. So here's super dynamic range here. You can see in the shadows here, there's this banding that happens with the Blackmagic cameras. I'm not sure where it comes from or why it happens, but it's pretty pronounced here. Look at the shadows in the rocks, how clean that is. You really have a nice look here. And you can see how the Blackmagic has that noise still. Actually, one thing I noticed with the Blackmagic is a lot of chromatic aberration, which is, I don't know if that's a byproduct of shooting RAW or what's going on. But these scenes, you can really see the detail in the Blackmagic. You know, it depends what you're looking for here. Our test for this is dynamic range, and it's there, and it's cleaner in the shadows on the Panasonic. This one's the ultimate. This is a really dark area of the park, and you can see that there is noise here that's pretty pronounced on the Blackmagic. This is getting later into the evening where noise is just going to happen. We push the ISOs up a lot higher. And again, the Panasonic came out really clean. There is a color shift though. You can see the green color shift, and that's just something to deal with a lower bit rate file, but it's something we can live with. Another dark scene and lots of noise. You know, I know red cameras are noisy too, but this is something that noise reduction can't always remove, and you just might have to add grain on top. This is not usable footage. There's no way to make this look good on the Blackmagic, and on the Panasonic, it's just hitting the limits of what noise reduction can do to make something clean. And also you can see kind of the red color channel is a little weird on the Blackmagic. So what's the takeaway from this? What we want is a camera with a lot of dynamic range that lets us choose the look that we want. It gives us more leverage to make better looks. My thought in shooting RAW was I had so much to move around, 12 bits of information. And the reality of my world has come crashing down after playing with this S5 footage in 10-bit, where I can oversaturate things and it looks great. I can push it around. I can put a film LUT on it. The dynamic range, I could pull the highlights down and it's smooth. It's amazing to me. So my conclusion is that this S5 is fantastic. Again, I hope this test was a good test for you guys to see. It was very much reality for me, and I think that's important in these tests. Let me know what you guys think down below. Again, I hope this was helpful, and thanks for watching.